Okay. Hey, I just want to say good afternoon, everyone. Time has come. We can start the meeting. I'd like to call the Budget and Planning Committee to order. Carol, would you like to take attendance, please?
Thank you. Michael Carroll, John Cordisco, Mark Dambley, Tom Ellis, Rob Fox, Ober Knodel, Bill Leonard, Dan Muroff,
Here.
Esteban Vera, Representative White, and here in the boardroom is Kevin Johnson and our new Chester County Board member, Marion Moskowitz. First person to present will be Martha Bean.
Carol, thank you. There's one item on the agenda today, authorizing the issuance of SEPTA's taxable and/or tax-exempt revenue bonds issued under trust indenture in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $800 million. Martha?
Hi, good afternoon. The resolution and accompanying staff summary presented to the committee today provides for the issuance of up to $800 million of revenue bonds to finance various capital projects and to refinance certain outstanding debt of the authority. SEPTA has historically received funding assistance from PennDOT secured by payments made by the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. However, beginning in July of 2022, the funding source provided to the authority will change. As a result, SEPTA is permitted to submit an application for financial assistance to PennDOT requesting to issue bonds for the purpose of improvement, replacement, or expansion of capital projects. On January 27, 2022, the board authorized SEPTA to submit an application to PennDOT. The application will enable the authority to issue revenue bonds and will be limited obligations of the authority, and interest and principal will be payable solely from revenues received under Section 1506 of Title 74 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes. The authority plans to issue revenue bonds in one or more series and/or subseries at the same or different times, fixed rate and/or variable rate, senior or subordinate, taxable or tax exempt via public offering or private placement, in an amount not to exceed $800 million. Staff recommends that the board authorize the issuance of up to $800 million of revenue bonds to finance various capital projects and to refinance certain outstanding debt of the authority. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no other items for this committee to consider, the meeting of the Budget and Planning Committee is concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call the admin committee meeting to order. Carol, can you do a roll call? I know we have about 4 or 5 people on the phone.
Commissioner Lawrence, Mike Carroll, John Cordisco, Mark Dambley,
Here.
Tom Ellis is here in the boardroom, Rob Fox. We have Kevin Johnson also here in the boardroom, Ober Knodel. Mr. Leonard is also present in the boardroom, Deb Mahler. Our
Here.
new Chester County Commissioner, Marion Moskowitz, is here in the boardroom. Dan Muroff,
Here.
Esteban Vera, Representative White. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, thanks, Carol. First item on the agenda is for Rick Graham.
Good afternoon. Staff requests the Board of Directors approve the renewal of the excess railroad liability insurance program for a cost of $3,772,193. SEPTA's current excess rail liability program with Lloyd's of London expires on March 1st, 2022. The policy covers claims brought under the Federal Employee Liability Act, FELA, claims arising from SEPTA's operations in Delaware and New Jersey, and claims involving Amtrak. The Commonwealth's statutory cap on damages may not apply to these claims. The policy is designed to protect SEPTA from catastrophic risk associated with railroad operations. The expiring excess rail liability insurance program has a $295 million per occurrence limit with a $25 million self-insured retention for a one-year term. The expiring premium is $3,544,875. Aon Risk Services, a member of SEPTA's Risk Management Advisory Committee, along with SEPTA staff, aggressively marketed this program to attain the most competitive program available. Global insurance market conditions remain unfavorable. Premiums for most lines of property casualty insurance continue to see significant increases. Additionally, the availability of limits capacity remains a challenge, with many commuter rail systems finding it difficult to secure required policy limits. Aon's rail transportation specialty team in London was able to secure full limits for the program by leveraging a dedicated pool of insurance limits. The program, called Aon Client Treaty, ACT, is unique to Aon and provided over $22 million in limits to the program. The proposed excess rail liability program increases the policy limits to $323 million per occurrence with a $25 million self-insured retention. The increased limits are required to meet Amtrak's insurance requirements. The FAST Act, passed by Congress in 2015, sets the insurance requirements for Amtrak and allows the U.S. Department of Transportation to increase the limits. The Department of Transportation ordered the increase in 2021. The annual premium for this coverage will be $3,772,193 and is inclusive of all fees, taxes, and commissions. This rate will include all other terms and conditions as the expiring policy. Total change over the expiring program with increased limits is 6.41%. Staff recommends that SEPTA bind the proposed excess rail liability coverage for a one-year term effective March 1st, 2022.
Any questions, Bill?
Yeah, so it's 200,000 roughly more, and there's greater coverage, insurance coverage.
Yeah, we're adding $28 million in limits to satisfy the Amtrak requirements.
Okay, and we got hit last year with a big. Was that covered by this insurance?
It was within the self-insured retention, so it was not covered.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Rick. Andy?
Good afternoon. This next item is for the award of a professional services contract for the brokerage and risk management consultant services for a 3-year base term with 2 one-year option terms. Services under this contract include assisting the authority in the management of its insurance program by providing access to broad-based and specialty insurance markets, loss control services for property conservation and construction safety on capital projects, insurance compliance reviews for real estate leases, procurements, and other insurance and risk mitigation contractual issues. 6 firms: Aon Risk Services Central, Inc., Marsh USA, Inc., Connor Strong and Bucklew Companies, LLC, the Seltzer Company, Inc., Beechler Carlson Holdings, Inc., a division of Brown & Brown, Inc., and Global Advisory Services, Inc., submitted proposals in response to the RFP solicitation. These proposals were evaluated and objectively ranked by a technical evaluation committee based on an evaluation criteria stated within the solicitation. Subsequent to the final rankings, the initial price proposals were opened. The firm's proposal rankings, as well as the initial pricing, are listed on page 2 of the staff summary. Negotiations were authorized with 5 of the firms whose proposals received superior or very good rankings, and therefore were determined to be within the competitive range based on their rankings and initial price proposals. Negotiations focused on annual brokerage services and hourly ad hoc rates for additional services. At the completion of the negotiations, best and final offers, BAFOs, were requested from the 5 firms and are listed on page 2 of the staff summary. This procurement is governed by Chapter 5, Section 10 of the Procurement Manual, whereas the board chairman has appointed a board committee on risk management matters to review staff's technical ratings and BAFO pricing, hold interviews with proposers if needed, and to make a final recommendation for an award to the full board. The appointed committee is scheduled to meet on February 24, 2022, in advance of the board meeting to finalize the review and make a recommendation for an award at the February full board meeting.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
And that's it for the admin committee meeting. Turn it over to Bill.
I'd like to call the Operations Committee meeting to order. Carol, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Lawrence? Michael Carroll? John Cordisco?
Here.
Mark Dambley?
Here.
Rob Fox?
Here.
Oprah Knodel? Deb Mahler?
Here.
Dan Muroff?
Here.
Esteban Vera? Representative White? Here in the boardroom, we have Commissioner Moskowitz, Kevin Johnson, Tom Ellis, and Bill Leonard.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. We begin with Andrew on the labor agreements. And Andrew, we have 6 agreements to cover here, but you're going to summarize them all because they're all
Correct.
essentially the same.
That's correct. Good afternoon. I'm here today to ask the board approve the memorandums of agreement reached between the authority and the following 6 bargaining units: the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen, the BRS, the Transport Workers Union of America, Local 2013, TWU 2013, the Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union, SMART, Railroad Mechanical and Engineering Department, the Brotherhood of Railway Carmen, the BRC, the Transportation Communications Union, the TCU, and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 500, IBT 500. The BRS represents approximately 85 railway signal maintainers and inspectors working in the authority's regional rail division. The TWU Local 2013 represents approximately 111 rail vehicle mechanics, welders, millwrights, and maintenance custodians working in the authority's regional rail division. SMART represents approximately 28 rail vehicle mechanics, welders, millwrights, and maintenance custodians working in the authority's regional rail division. The BRC represents approximately 59 rail vehicle mechanics, welders, millwrights, and maintenance custodians working in the authority's regional rail division. The TCU represents approximately 77 clerical personnel working in the authority's regional rail division. And the IBT 500 represents approximately 335 clerical, technical, and administrative personnel working in the authority's city transit division. The BRS, TW 2013 SMART and BRC agreements were due to become amendable on February 17th, 2022. The TCU agreement was due to become amendable on May 20th, 2022. The IBT 500 agreement was set to expire at midnight on January 17th, 2021 or 2022. However, the parties extended the agreement until February 17th, 2022. The authority reached agreement with BRS on January 25th, 2022. The TWU Local 2013 on January 28th, 2022, SMART on February 7th, 2022, the TCU and BRC on February 9th, 2022, and the IBT 500 on February 10th, 2022. The BRC, TCU, and IBT 500 agreements are pending ratification by the union membership. The BRS, TWU Local 2013, and SMART agreements have been ratified by the union membership. The agreements are for 2 years. They each provide for 3% annual wage increases consistent with the pattern established by the TW 234 agreement. The cost of the agreements fit within the authority's budget. I request that the board approve each memorandum of agreement.
Questions? Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
Leo? Leo.
Good afternoon. This item is a First Amendment to lease agreement by SEPTA to Montgomery County to facilitate the relocation of a .028 acre portion of the existing Schuylkill River Trail onto SEPTA's Norristown Regional Rail Line right-of-way. On July 25th, 2013, the board authorized SEPTA to enter into a lease agreement with the County of Montgomery for use of 11,543 square feet of property for development of a multi-use interim recreational trail known as the Schuylkill River Trail in the vicinity of the Norristown Transportation Center for a term of 30 years. The proposed First Amendment would allow a .28 acre portion of the trail to be relocated on a portion of SEPTA's Norristown Regional Rail Line along the northerly boundary line between milepost 13.74 and 13.75 in the borough of Conshohocken, Montgomery County. The trail relocation is necessitated by development of property located at 400 West Elm Street by Equus Partners, LLC. The county has submitted a letter in support of the trail relocation project and indicated that Equus will maintain the relocated part of the trail for a period of 10 years. Thereafter, the county will take over all maintenance responsibility. The proposed First Amendment is subject to the county submitting a resolution accepting the amendment and a formal trail maintenance agreement with Equus, with the county accepting all liability for the trail in the event of any default by Equus. The county will also be required to maintain railroad protective liability insurance satisfactory to SEPTA. Staff recommends that the board authorize SEPTA to enter into the proposed First Amendment to lease with Montgomery County to facilitate the relocation of a portion of the Schuylkill River Trail.
Questions for Leo? Thanks, Leo. Andy, you're up. For you and Jim, we're going to roll through these presentations. The board's on notice that if they have questions, they can jump in after you pause on each one. Okay?
Will do, thank you. Good afternoon again. This next item is for the award of a contract for the purchase of cross ties and switch timber used for upcoming track renewal projects for calendar year 2022. 3 bids were received in response to the solicitation, and Stella Jones Corporation is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, submitted a bid unit price of $67.90 for the total contract amount not to exceed $2,648,100. Stella Jones Corporation bid unit price represents an approximately 21% increase from the previous unit price paid in January 2021. This increase can be mainly attributed to the spike of more than 18% in both the lumber price index and the general freight, Trucking Transportation Index over the past year. Stella Jones Corporation is the incumbent providing this material and has performed satisfactorily, and their price has been determined fair and reasonable and recommended for award. This next item is for the award of a 3-year contract for the non-revenue fleet tires and flat tire repair services. SEPTA requires an as-required service contract for the replacement of failed tires, tire repairs, and roadside services for its non-revenue vehicles with service location within close proximity of our Cortland facility. One bid response was received from Michael Gabor and Associates LLC. The solicitation was extended several times and multiple outreach events were conducted to gain competition. A single bid survey is attached to the staff summary as Exhibit A. Michael Gabor Associates LLC's bid price of $1,108,256 reflects an approximately 9% increase from the previous price paid for these services in 2019 and is approximately 2% lower than staff's independent cost estimate. Michael Gabor is the incumbent and has performed satisfactorily, and their bid is considered fair and reasonable and recommended for award. The next item is for the award of multiple contracts for unarmed security guard services for a 1-year base term and 2 1-year option terms to be exercised at SEPTA's sole discretion. The required services are broken down into security guards assigned to certain stations along the Market of Frankfurt and Broad Street subway lines and act as guides interacting with our passengers, answering questions, report criminal activity and unsafe conditions, and providing visibility, as well as security guards that will be responsible for clearing the stations and locking them after the last train and reopening same stations in the morning before the first train. 2 separate sealed bid solicitations were released, one for the station assignments with the award basis as each or any, for the Market of Frankfurt L line or the Broad Street subway line, and the other solicitation for closing and opening of the stations with the award basis as all. 14 bids were received for the station's assignments solicitation, and 10 bids were received for the station's closing and opening solicitation. The bids received are listed on page 2 and 3 of the staff summary. For the station assignments, Extriti LLC, who was the low bidder for both the Broad Street and the Market of Frankfurt lines, is being recommended for award for only the Broad Street line for a total amount not to exceed $8,598,294.40 for both the base and the option terms. However, for the Market of Frankfurt line, the second lowest bidder, Scotland Yard Security Services, Inc., is being recommended for award for the total amount not to exceed $9,684,004.80 for the base term and option terms. The decision to award to the second lowest bidder is to ensure sufficient staffing resources and capacity to handle the work. With Extriti LLC being awarded the Broad Street line station assignments, their resources would be stretched thin and may not be able to handle the Market of Frankfurt L line of work as well. For the closing and opening of stations, Extriti LLC is the lowest bidder. However, the Philadelphia Protection Unit LLC, the second lowest bidder, is being recommended for award for the total contract amount not to exceed $1,997,280 for the base term and option terms. This determination is for the same staffing resources and the capacity risks just mentioned. The determination to award to other than low bidder for both scenarios and having multiple awards would provide the least risk and best service outcome for SEPTA. All 3 firms recommended for award are established security firms with local presence, and their bid pricing has been determined fair and reasonable. Therefore, staff recommends award of 3 contracts for a 1-year base term and 2 1-year option terms to be exercised at SEPTA's sole discretion to Extriti LLC for the station assignments for the Broad Street line for the total amount not to exceed $8,598,290.40, to Scotland Yard Security Services, Inc. for the Market of Frankfurt line for a total amount not to exceed $9,684,004.80, and to the Philadelphia Protection Unit LLC for security guards closing and opening of stations for a total amount not to exceed $1,997,280.
Andy, I have a question. Is this a new service or is this a continuation of existing service?
It's the continuation of the service that we currently have in place with Allied Security Services.
Is it,
Their contract is coming up for renewal.
is it beefed up or is it basically at the same staffing levels?
Yeah, Rob, this is Scott Sauer. It is beefed up. The service is a little bit different. We'll have, the guide program is designed to ride the trains, not just be staffed at the stations themselves. And the opening and closing of the stations is a task that's currently shared by the police and transportation, which will be now exclusively in the hands of the security, guard program.
So I'm assuming that allows the police to do other things essentially.
That's correct. It's designed to allow the police to do policing activities and for transportation to do their assignments as well.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate those answers.
So, it's a lot of dough. Can't we figure out how to do this ourselves? I mean, not with the police. I think they have more important things to do, but unarmed security people, can we just throw a fancy jacket on somebody and let them do the same thing?
We have looked at internal ideas. The staffing levels that are needed have not been, we don't have the levels to do this and the other tasks that we need to do. So it would be an increase in staffing levels to get to a point where we could do this ourselves.
18, $21 million just to buy them. We could do a lot of staffing with that. Well,
We can take a
Right.
we can take a look. We'll take a look and have some numbers.
Yeah, this is Dan Muroff. I'd be curious to know over the course, and if you studied it, 3, 5, 10 years out, if there would be cost savings associated with taking it in-house, and if you'd see a stable workforce that you would envision.
I didn't quite hear that. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Dan, it was hard to hear you.
Sorry, yeah, I guess my microphone's not working. I was kind of sharing the same thoughts. It would be good to have just projections over the course of years if you did this in-house and what the cost savings might be, maybe not up front, but in the long term.
Okay. Yep, we can take a look at that too.
This is Andy again. I mean, one of the things that we did is we did a 1-year base term with 2 1-year options. So that's gonna, hopefully the first year will give us enough time to evaluate the success of the program and what other changes, we would need to make before we exercise the second and the third year.
I just want to follow up with one comment. That Andy, what you just said is actually important to me. I mean, as we're ramping back up, hopefully, this is a huge issue for our customers. And so I think it's something we should evaluate along the lines of the last 2 comments, but also we need to have our police do what they're doing, and we need to ensure other layers of safety for our ridership in the short term. It's a critical time period. So while ultimately, Dan, I agree with your comment, which is we may want a stable way to do this if it's cost effective and makes sense. I don't think we have the luxury of timing this year if we really want to implement something like this. And I think it's really important to me. As I've said before, we're nowhere. We don't feel like our riders are getting a safe trip.
You can continue, Andy.
Okay. The next item is for the award of a 3-year sole source contract to ARC Document Solutions LLC for ARC SkySite annual subscription for calendar years 2022 through 2024. SEPTA uses a cloud-based database developed and maintained by ARC Document Solutions LLC to digitally upload, store, search, and transmit plans and drawings documenting SEPTA's infrastructure. ARC Document Solutions LLC is the original developer and maintainer of this database and the only entity that could provide the subscription services. ARC's cost proposal of $40,500 for the 3-year term is same as their previous annual subscription of $13,500 and therefore determined to be fair and reasonable and recommended for award. The next sole source contract is with Johnson Controls U.S. Holdings LLC, doing business as Johnson Controls Security Solutions LLC for SEPTA's 1234 Market Street building surveillance system upgrade. SEPTA requires the services of Johnson Controls to provide engineering, material installation, and support to upgrade the tie-in at 1234 Market Street Building CCTV surveillance system to the genetic system currently in place for the authority's CCT surveillance needs. Johnson Controls is the licensed genetic vendor for SEPTA's CCT system and is a network designer and only entity that can perform this work. Johnson Controls negotiated a proposal of $327,000 is approximately 3% lower than staff's independent estimate and therefore determined to be fair and reasonable and recommended for award.
Thanks, Andy.
I have
Jim?
one more, Bill.
Oh, is that one
I
more?
have one more.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. This last source item is for a contract for the purchase and commissioning of a mobile flash butt welder for welding the authority's different gauge running and contact rails throughout our operating territory. The authority's existing unit has been in service for over 35 years and has been out of commission due to aging and obsolescence of replacement parts, and staff is currently utilizing third-party services for flash butt welding. By replacing the obsolete unit with a new mobile flash butt welder, SEPTA will restore its ability to weld rail strings using in-house forces and maintain better control of its construction schedules and within normal budget. While other mobile flash butt welders are available from other manufacturers, only the unit provided by Schlatter Industries AG has the ability to also weld the third rail, which is of great importance to SEPTA. Other manufacturers require a purchase of separate welding head, which results in added cost and labor and delays to change out the head attachments. This procurement is governed by the provisions of the Pennsylvania Steel Products Act of 1978 as amended. Schlatter Industries AG certified that they cannot comply with the act as their offered unit contains foreign steel and will be manufactured in Switzerland. Staff has confirmed that the material is not produced domestically and therefore a waiver is requested in accordance with the Pennsylvania Steel Products Act. Schlatter Industries AG's cost proposal of $1,419,000 is approximately 10% lower than staff's independent cost estimate and therefore is determined fair and reasonable and recommended for award.
Okay, Jim. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, thank you.
These are change orders now?
Yes, sir. The staff summary and resolution have been revised to reflect the correct amendment value for this item. The next item is a contract amendment number 3 with Trapeze Software Group, Inc., doing business as AssetWorks LLC for the implementation of the Trapeze Operations Management Module System and Core System Enhancement Project for an increase in contract value in the amount of $63,650. This amendment will provide for the implementation of the Ops Union contract configuration changes at City, Frontier, and Victory locations. Due to recent union contract settlements, enhancements to the software were required, which include operators' entitlement to an additional floating holiday accrual, new absence type for pregnancy disability leave to be paid or unpaid, update performance points for absences, and new emergency at home requirement. The contractor's proposed cost was found comparable to staff's estimate and therefore accepted as fair and reasonable. The next item is contract amendment number 1 for 2 Conduit Transport Solutions, Inc. contracts for the maintenance and technical support services for 2 software systems. The first one is the CCT OrbStar and OrbCAD system for a 6.5-month time extension, retroactive to October 2nd, 2021, and an increase in contract value not to exceed $92,758. The second one is the card system for an increase in contract value in the amount of $75,738. The change work includes a 6.5-month retroactive time extension for the CCT OrbStar OrbCAD software maintenance support services for a revised contract end date to April 15th, 2022, and adding the CCT OrbStar OrbCAD license fee to the remaining 3 years of the card maintenance support services contract, which expires on April 24th, 2025. Which will allow SEPTA to have uninterrupted service, cost savings by combining the maintenance and support contracts and need licenses, and to have both contract end dates co-terminate together. The contractor's proposed cost for the 2 contract amendments was found comparable to staff's estimate and therefore accepted as fair and reasonable. The next item is contract amendment number 1 with Axion Contact Center LLC for CCT Reservations Call Center. As a result of the pandemic and the current economic climate, Axion is experiencing workforce shortages and retention challenges with the high demand and limited availability of candidates. The current contracted direct hourly rate is affecting both recruitment and retention. To be more competitive as SEPTA heads into the next contract year, the requested increase will improve the ability of the vendor to recruit employees with wages more in line with the prevailing wage rate for similar work in our region. There are sufficient funds remaining under the existing contract due to the significant reduction in service hours due to the pandemic, which will cover the increased hourly rates, and consequently, there is no need to add funds to the existing contract for this amendment at the present time. The next item is contract amendment number 1 with McCormick Taylor, Inc. and Hewitt Zollers for general planning consulting services for an increase in contract value in the amount of $1 million for each consultant contract. The general planning consulting contracts are scheduled to expire on April 15th, 2024. Staff is requesting additional funds for each consultant as monies committed and task orders authorized to date, which are expected to last throughout calendar year 2023, are utilizing nearly all of the initial contract amount capacity. Those tasks include FTA requested grant funded station area plan for King of Prussia Rail and larger efforts as part of the trolley modernization project, notably for operations and capacity study that is currently kicking off and will last through mid-2023. In addition, there are several upcoming time-sensitive tasks that have necessitated the need to add funds to the contracts, while a new RFP solicitation is being prepared for release later this year. The proposed amendment provides for continued support for additional work, with a particular focus on integrating enhancements to real-time information into SEPTA's mobile application, website, and other third-party applications. This additional support will also allow SEPTA to improve the trip planning function on the mobile application. The hourly billing rates offered on the original contracts will remain unchanged for both consultants, which have been determined to be fair and reasonable.
Hey, Jim, it's Kevin. I have a question. These were originally supposed to be 3-year contracts?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are the GEC for engineering, are those 5-year normally, or are those 3-year?
3.
3, Scott? Okay.
It's 3.
Yeah, and I know this is the first time we've had this contract for planning. I was a little surprised that, we had burned through the amounts that quickly, but it's obvious that we need the work. And I know it's kind of been a learning process, even with the engineering, where now I think it's, I don't know if it's 8 at $8.5 million each, and it used to be maybe 4 at $5 million each, but it may be that next time we need to consider, having more, just so that I think it's easier to supplement with a time extension than it is for you guys to put in the effort to have to re-advertise way ahead of schedule and go through all the RFPs. So just be a recommendation for next time. I know Jody's not here, but I'm sure somebody will relay that to her.
We will. Thank you.
Thanks.
The next item is contract amendment number 1 with UPMC Benefit Management Services, Inc., doing business as UPMC Work Partners for the third-party administration services for SEPTA's Family Medical Leave Act program for an increase in contract value in the amount of $210,000 and a 6-month time extension from August 31st, 2022 to March 1st, 2023. As part of the implementation of the Efficiency and Accountability Program, SEPTA has developed an absence management working group that is seeking to implement industry-leading practices addressing absenteeism, which includes to contract with an integrated third-party leave administrator that will consolidate all forms of leave administration, including FMLA. This will allow SEPTA to centralize tracking, communications, and management of absenteeism. The procurement process for an integrated third-party leave administrator is underway, and this extension will ensure continuity of services during the solicitation process and transitioning to the new program. Service rates and pricing provided under the original contract will remain unchanged for this amendment. This last item is contract number one with Netrix LLC for the Help Desk and Support Center Services for a 12-month time extension to January 31st, 2023, and an increase in contract value in the amount of $426,000. SEPTA's IT department requests an extension of the existing Help Desk and Support Center Services with Netrix to support and assist IT in providing continued service and support for all SEPTA staff with respect to IT problem notifications, account and password support, and application support. Due to the ongoing modernization of the applications and systems, support from Netrix is critical to provide quick and timely response for SEPTA staff. A new request for proposal solicitation is currently being developed. The contractor's proposed cost was found comparable to staff's estimate and therefore accepted as fair and reasonable.
Thank you, Jim. I think that concludes the Operations Committee meeting.
Hey,
Thank you,
can I
Webb.
just say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Jim, I can't tell you how exciting it is to have no construction-related change orders.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. That's a wrap.